Welcome back to Your Local Haunt, the podcast that explores the world's most infamous haunted locations, separating fact from folklore, while never losing sight of the shadows that linger in between. First things first, I'd like to apologise for the rather long wait between episodes. Life has just got a bit crazy, really. But we're back. Tonight, we're travelling to a lonely farmhouse in rural Rhode Island. A house that inspired one of the most successful horror movies ever made. A house where a family claims they lived alongside spirits for nearly a decade. A house where stories of ghostly women, unexplained voices, violent encounters, and dark seances have become part of paranormal legend. This is the story of the real Conjuring House. Unlike many haunted locations I've covered, the people involved are still talking about what happened. The house still stands. Visitors still spend the night there. And depending on who you ask, the haunting never ended. The building known today as the Conjuring House sits in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Long before Hollywood discovered it, the locals knew it as Old Arnold Estate. The farmhouse dates back to the 18th century, with portions of the property believed to have been constructed around 1736. Over generations, members of the Arnold family lived, worked, and died on that land. Surrounded by woodland, stone walls, and open fields, the property appears idyllic. The sort of place where you would imagine raising a family. Yet local history surrounding the estate is filled with tragedy. Accounts associated with the property speak of accidental deaths, drownings, suicides, and murders spread across generations. While some claims are disputed and difficult to verify completely, the reputation of the land was already dark long before the Perron family arrived. And that family would become central to one of the most famous haunting stories ever told. In January 1971, Roger and Caroline Perron purchased the farmhouse and moved in with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and little April. At first, the family believed they'd found their dream home. A sprawling country farmhouse with room for everyone. According to multiple family members, strange things began almost immediately. The children reported hearing footsteps in empty hallways. Doors would open on their own. Objects seemed to move from where they'd been left. Small items vanished and then later reappeared. And at first, these incidents were easy to dismiss. An old house has to settle. Wood's going to creak. Things are going to get misplaced. But the experiences reportedly became harder to explain. The family began feeling watched, not occasionally, but constantly. Imagine being 10 years old, walking through a dark farmhouse corridor at midnight, and feeling absolutely certain that someone is standing just behind you. Not hearing them, not seeing them, but you just know they're there. That's what several of the members of the Perron family felt. What's fascinating about the Perron case is that not every encounter was terrifying. According to Andrea, many of the entities appeared curious rather than hostile. Some allegedly watched the family from doorways. Others appeared briefly before disappearing. Several of the daughters described seeing figures dressed in clothing that seemed centuries old. One spirit reportedly smelled of flowers, and another was said to sit quietly in a rocking chair. Some family members believed these apparitions were former residents who simply never left. But not every presence seemed benign. One in particular stood apart. A figure the family would come to fear. A woman they believed hated Caroline Perron, and that woman was known as Bathsheba. Now, if you've seen The Conjuring, you'll know Bathsheba Sherman as the demonic witch who sacrifices her child and curses the land. The reality, though, is considerably less clear. Bathsheba Sherman was a real historical person who lived in the area during the 19th century. However, many of the accusations made against her in the film have never been proven historically. No evidence exists that she was ever convicted of witchcraft, and many of the movie's most shocking claims appeared to have been created or exaggerated for that dramatic effect. Yet the Perron family believed that whatever was haunting the house was connected to her. According to Andrea's later accounts, Bathsheba was the most aggressive presence they encountered. Carolyn reportedly experienced scratches, bruises, and episodes of intense fear that the family associated with this entity. The spirit's alleged focus on Carolyn became a recurring theme. Some paranormal interpretations suggested that Bathsheba viewed Carolyn as an intruder, the new mistress of a home she refused to surrender. Whether one accepts that explanation or not, it became central to the family's understanding of the haunt. Over the years, the Perrons described dozens of incidents. Some were subtle, others deeply unsettling. One daughter reportedly witnessed a spirit standing silently beside her bed. Another described seeing a woman hanging from the ceiling. Several family members claimed to hear voices, whispering when nobody else was present. Carolyn allegedly suffered the worst experiences. Family accounts described unexplained bruises, sudden pains, and periods where her personality seemed to change. The emotional impact was enormous. Whether paranormal or psychological, the family was living under constant strain. And the longer they stayed in the house, the more intense the experiences allegedly became. The farmhouse transformed from a dream home into something closer to a prison. Because despite everything, they couldn't simply leave. The house represented nearly everything they owned, so they stayed, year after year, living alongside whatever they believed shared the house. Eventually, the Perrons sought help from outside. The help arrived in the form of two of the most controversial figures in paranormal history, Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens had already built a reputation investigating hauntings, possessions, and supernatural phenomena across America. After hearing the family's story, they visited the farmhouse. Lorraine reportedly believed the house contained numerous spirits, some benign and some malevolent. The Warrens spent time investigating and documenting the claims. But one event would become legendary: the seance. Now, with the seance, accounts vary depending on who tells the story. But according to family members, the seance took place in an attempt to communicate with the entity believed to be tormenting Carolyn. What happened next has become one of the most discussed moments in paranormal history. Witnesses claimed Carolyn began speaking strangely. Some said her chair rose from the floor. Others described her as appearing temporarily possessed. And Roger Perron was reportedly horrified. The situation escalated beyond what he felt safe. And according to later accounts, he ordered the Warrens to leave and refuse further involvement. Unlike the movie, there was no climatic exorcism, no Hollywood showdown, just a deeply disturbing experience that left lasting scars on everyone involved. And then the haunting apparently continued. The Perrons remained at the property until 1980, nearly 10 years after moving in. Even after everything they claimed to experience, they stayed. That detail alone is often overlooked. If the story were entirely fabricated, it would be a strange lie to maintain for a decade. Yet skeptics point out that memory is imperfect. Stories evolve. Fear influences perception. Old houses do create strange sounds and coincidences. The truth may lie somewhere between those extremes. What remains undeniable is that the Perron family genuinely believed something extraordinary happened. And because of the fame and all the stories and how far they reach people, in 2013, director James Wan brought the story to life with The Conjuring. The film became a global phenomenon. Audiences were terrified. The Conjuring universe was born. And the farmhouse, It became one of the most famous haunted locations in the world. Yet Andrea Perron herself has stated much of that film was fictionalized. By some estimates, she suggested only a small portion reflected events exactly as they occurred. Hollywood had taken a haunting and transformed it into a nightmare. But perhaps that was fitting. Because the real story is unsettling in a different way. Because at the end of the day, the movie ends. But the real life torment for that family never did. And now today, the Conjuring House operates as a paranormal destination. Investigators, ghost hunters, and curious visitors travel from around the world to spend the night there. Many claim to experience unexplained sounds, voices, shadows, and strange sensations. Others leave having experienced absolutely nothing. And that is what perhaps makes the location so fascinating. Unlike many haunted places that have vanished into history, this one is still generating stories, still creating believers, still puzzling skeptics, and still asking the same question. What really happened inside that farmhouse? So, what do you think? Was the Perron family haunted by something beyond explanation? Did decades of local legends shape their experiences? Was Bathsheba Sherman an innocent woman transformed into a monster by folklore? Or is the truth hidden somewhere in the darkness between history and belief? The Conjuring House remains one of the most investigated haunted locations in the world. A place where documented history, personal testimony, and supernatural legend have become permanently intertwined. And perhaps that's why the story refuses to die. Because whether ghosts exist or not, people keep seeing them there. Thank you for joining me on this journey to America's most infamous haunted location. Until next time, keep your lights low, keep your ears open, and remember, every town has a ghost story. You just have to know where to listen.